Episode 2.
The End of Everything. It had been 4 days since I lost my father. 4 agonizing days spent in this cold, damp jail cell where the darkness echoed my grief. My eyes were swollen, raw from crying, but I had stopped shedding tears. They hadn't done any good. Slowly, the sadness that had wrapped around my heart transformed into regret. And then finally, it evolved into something far more dangerous: anger. Who would have thought that my own family, Paul, the man I loved, and Sophia, the woman I thought I could trust, would betray me this way, all for wealth, my father's wealth. And yet I had been so blind, too trusting, too stupid to see what was happening right in front of me. I thought back to the moments that now seem so glaringly obvious. The time I found them in the garden, Paul's arms wrapped around Sophia in a comforting embrace, or so he claimed. But I had wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that my husband was loyal. And so I let it go, dismissing the warning signs as a misunderstanding. I was such a fool who didn't notice that it was right around then that my father's health began to fail. Paul had played his role well. To the outside world, he was the picture-perfect husband, caring, attentive. But behind closed doors, I was always the one who had to compromise, who had to bow to his whims. He never raised a hand against me, no. But his words, his coldness, slowly eroded my confidence. He made me believe that I was the problem, that I wasn't enough. And I, desperate for his approval, allowed myself to shrink beneath his disapproval. Now, in the solitude of this cell, all I could do was laugh bitterly at my own foolishness. How could I have been so blind? How could I have fallen for his lies? I tried to appeal my case, to proclaim my innocence, but it was no use. No one believed me. The nurse, Paul's sister, testified that I had pulled the drip from my father's arm, triggering his heart attack. I hadn't even known she was his sister until Sophia came to gloat, rubbing her victory in my face. They had orchestrated everything perfectly, and I hadn't seen it coming. Now, while I sat in this cold, lonely cell, they were likely celebrating. Paul, Sophia, and their co-conspirators, toasting to their success, basking in the wealth they had stolen from my father. Hatred boiled inside me, my nails digging into my palms as I clenched my fists. Suddenly, the clanging of the cell door snapped me out of my thoughts. "You have a visitor," the female guard said, pulling me from my cell and leading me to the visitation room. I walked in, expecting to see yet another lawyer or investigator, but instead my breath caught in my throat. Standing there was a man I never expected to see again, Nicholas Charles. My instinct was to run. Why was he here? To mock me, to see me at my lowest point? After all, I had never treated him kindly. Nicholas was not the type to forget or forgive easily. I took a step back, my heart racing with anxiety. "Sarah, wait!" His voice broke the silence, raw and full of something I hadn't expected: pain. "I'm here to help you." "Help me?" I blinked, confusion filling my mind. Why would Nicholas Charles, of all people, want to help me? Our past interactions had been anything but pleasant. "Why?" I stammered, unable to mask my disbelief. "I'm sorry, Sarah." He sighed, his voice heavy with regret. If I had looked into Paul sooner, maybe this wouldn't have happened. My eyes widened. Nicholas had investigated Paul for me. I felt my chest tighten, and despite everything, my eyes welled with tears. "No, Nicholas." I shook my head, my voice cracking as tears spilled over. "It's my fault. I pushed my father toward the wrong people. I did this. It's all my fault." "No, Sarah," he said firmly, stepping closer and grabbing my arms. His touch was gentle but full of conviction. "You're not at fault. You're a victim too. I know you didn't kill him. The Sarah I know would never hurt anyone, least of all her own father." The sincerity in his voice broke through my defenses, and for the first time in days, I sobbed openly, my heart shattered, but relieved that someone believed in me. But I still led him to them. If I hadn't been so blind, my father would still be alive. My voice cracked as the overwhelming guilt resurfaced, but Nicholas wiped away my tears. If your father were still alive, he wouldn't want to see his daughter broken like this. He loved you too much to want that," he said softly, lifting my chin to meet his gaze. "I'll help you, Sarah. We'll fight them together, and you'll get back everything that's rightfully yours." His words ignited a spark of hope within me. He was right. I couldn't let Paul and Sophia win. I couldn't let my father's death be in vain. I needed to stand up, to fight back. "Then what should I do?" I asked, my voice steadier than before. "Trust me," Nicholas said, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. "In 2 days, I'll get you out of here. I promise." As the guard entered, signaling the end of our visit, I looked back at Nicholas, his determined eyes giving me a sliver of hope in this dark, endless nightmare. True to his word, 2 days later, Nicholas came through. He bailed me out, and as I stepped out of the police station, the sun shining down on my face, I breathed deeply. The world seemed to have moved on in the week I had been locked away, but for me, everything had changed. I glanced at Nicholas, who stood by his car, watching me with an unreadable expression. Despite the warmth of the sun, I shivered, the weight of my father's death still crushing me. I had to be strong now, stronger than ever before. I would make Paul and Sophia pay for what they had done. As I took a step toward Nicholas, I heard him scream my name. I froze, confusion flooding me. Why was he yelling? And then I felt it, a sharp pain in my chest. I looked down, my hand instinctively reaching for the spot, and found it wet. Red, blood, my blood. The world tilted. My legs gave out beneath me, but before I hit the ground, Nicholas was there, catching me. "Sarah, no! Stay with me!" His voice was frantic, desperate, but it was fading, just like the light in my eyes. I tried to hold on, tried to stay awake, but the pain was too much. My life was slipping away, and all I could think of was my father. I had failed him. I hadn't been able to avenge him. I had failed. "I'm sorry, Dad." The last thing I saw was Nicholas's tear-filled eyes before the darkness consumed me completely.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Make sure to ring the notification bell for more exciting episodes. You can also check out the previous and next episodes right here on the channel. Thanks again for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.